Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today I thought I would do a review and first impressions kind of wear test on a new foundation that I've heard a lot of great things about. It's the Wet n Wild Photofocus foundation. It's a drugstore foundation. It's $4.99. It's vegan and cruelty free, and I've just heard really great things, and for that price point you can't really beat it. So I went to Walgreens yesterday to try and find the foundation. They did have it, however, they were out of quite a lot of shades, so I don't know if I got the right shade for me. Usually I am pretty light, and I think this was like the fourth lightest shade, which was Nude Ivory. I also picked up another shade. I think it's going to be a bit dark, but for the price, I was like, well, I'll just try, if this one's too light, I can maybe mix them, or I don't know, we'll see. But I can always take it back if it doesn't work. So anyway, it's called, like I said, Wet n Wild Photofocus Foundation, and the bottle is really nice. It actually is pretty heavy and it doesn't feel cheap, like some of the drugstore foundations just feel really cheap, and this doesn't feel like that at all. It's actually pretty heavy, and just screw off the top here, and it has like this kind of spatula applicator, which is interesting. I hate foundations that don't either have an applicator or don't have a pump that you have to pour it out. I feel like it wastes a lot of product. So I have not tried a foundation with this sort of applicator before, so it should be interesting. So I'm going to go ahead and pin my bangs back and get my hair out of the way so we can try this foundation. And for those of you that don't know, I do have oily skin, so we'll see how this wears on my skin here. Just make sure everything is nice and out of the way. And I'm going to prime my face like I normally do, just so I can, get a good idea of and can be able to compare it with the other foundation that I normally use. The one thing I'm not going to do, just because I want to really see what it does with my pores, is I'm not going to use my Bye Bye Pores It powder that I usually use. So I'm not going to do that. So we'll see what it does, because I usually get pretty, my pores are pretty big through here, and usually wet the foundation towards, middle of the day or end of the day, they're really visible. So I'm really curious to see how it's going to look. So like I said, use my normal primer. It's my Smashbox Photo Finish Pore Minimizing Primer. I basically just use this right in this area here, and it reminds me a lot of Professional by Benefit. It's kind of that same texture, and I just rub this right in this area, kind of go under my eyes too, because it fills in those fine lines, and then anything left on my fingers I just kind of put everywhere. Use that. Okay, so I think I'm going to go in with the lighter shade here. I'm pretty sure this is going to be too dark, but I don't know. We'll see. So this is Nude Ivory. I think it was like the fourth lightest shade, if I remember correctly. So I'm just gonna kind of put it on. Might be a little too light. Well, I have that darker shade if I need to mix in a little bit. I don't usually put too much on my forehead, just because my bangs kind of cover everything there. Well, it was pretty much just one spatula kind of covered my whole face, so that's interesting. That would be good. You don't need a whole lot of product at least. Ooh, this is really light. Might have to mix some of that darker shade. So I'm just gonna, Yeah, that's really, it's really light. It didn't look this light in the bottle, surprising. And usually I'm pretty light, like in the shade range on most foundations, so I don't know. Oh, well, actually, it doesn't look too bad, I guess, when it blends out. It's not quite as light. Like, I'm pretty light. Like, if you look at my skin, I don't do any self-tanning, cream tan, any of that kind of stuff, so I'm pretty light. And actually, when you blend that in, it doesn't look too bad. I'm just gonna blend this in. I feel like it's set pretty fast, so you kind of have to work hard with this, or work fast, I should say, with this foundation. But it actually looks really nice. The shade actually is pretty spot on, actually. It looked really light when I first put it on, but once I blended it out, I'm gonna look close here. So it does dry to a pretty matte finish, but it looks really, really nice. It doesn't look really heavy. It doesn't feel heavy, which is good because I really hate feeling I have a bunch of makeup on, you know. And one layer worked just fine for me. I don't have a lot to cover. I have, you know, some redness, but I don't have like a lot of acne or anything like that at the moment anyway. I do get some breakouts. But so far, I really like the way that it looks. And I usually apply my foundation with a brush. You could probably do a sponge, but a couple of people that I saw use a sponge say it soaked up rather quickly in the sponge rather than using a brush. So I'm just going to go ahead and do my concealer and see how that blends on top. And I do use a damp beauty sponge for that, and it's the Real Techniques sponge. So the concealer I'm using is my Tarte Shape Tape in the color Light. So let's see how that blends on top of it here. So I'm just gonna do that. And I don't have really a whole lot of like dark circles. I basically use it to highlight. Just do a little there. I'm just gonna blend that. And I really do like this concealer. I finally had picked it up after hearing a lot of good things about it. And I really love it. It is really good coverage, and I don't know, the formula of it, it just doesn't ever like crease or look really cakey or anything like that. I really like it. If you haven't tried this concealer, I highly recommend it. I picked mine up at Ulta. I think it was like $20 or something like that. So that blended really nice on the top of that foundation. It looks really good. All right, so I'm just gonna go ahead and set this. I'm gonna set my under eyes with the lighter color in my Shade and Light palette, just like I normally do. So I'm gonna use this kind of vanilla shade here. And I just use a small kind of fluffy brush for this. And just set my under eyes. also put a little bit down my everywhere where I basically put the concealer. I put this powder. And then for the rest of my face, I'm going to go in with a big fluffy brush from Real Techniques and use my Rimmel Stay Matte powder. Now, I probably should have picked up, I know that with this collection, Wet n Wild did do a pressed powder and I think a concealer, some highlighting things, but I think in a contour color, I probably could have picked up some of that stuff, but I don't know. I'll see how I like the foundation, and then if I really like it, I may go and try some of those other products and see how I like them. But I kind of wanted to use my normal routine for the most part, the powder that I normally use, you know, the concealer, all of that kind of stuff, just so I have a really good comparison, because that's what I use, you know, on a regular basis, and can just make sure I give it a fair chance to compare it with my normal routine, because you never know if you use whole new products, like what do you have it to compare to? You don't know if it's the powder that maybe isn't working well or whatnot. I really just wanted to test this foundation. So anyway, yeah, I really like it so far. It looks really nice. It doesn't look cakey. It's set pretty matte, and for me, I want it matte, just because I do have kind of more of a combination skin. I do get oily through my T-zone and in my cheek area. So yeah, we'll give this a shot throughout the day. I'm going to go ahead and do the rest of my makeup. Right now it is 10:58. So I will check in later on today and kind of give you an update on what I think about this foundation, and then I'll check in at the end of the night and let you guys know my final thoughts. But so far, I am really loving it. So anyway, I'll talk to you guys in a bit. Bye. Hey everyone, so I thought I would do a quick check-in as I stopped in a parking lot, just did a little bit of grocery shopping. But I thought I would do a quick check-in. It is 2 o'clock right now, so I've had this foundation on for about 4 hours or so, and again, I am really liking it for the price that it is. It looks really good. My contour and highlight is still showing strong. Doesn't look real oily or anything. Pretty much looks and feels like I just put it on not too long ago, so I am really impressed with it so far. So I hope it really lasts throughout the day. I usually work pretty long day, 9 hours or so. So I really like a foundation that lasts and looks good all day long. So anyway, I will check in with you guys a little bit later. And yeah, I'll talk to you guys later. Bye-bye. Hey everyone, so I'm just doing my final check-in for the evening regarding this foundation. I have to say I really do like it. It's about 6:30 right now, and so I've had it on about 8.5 hours or so. And it's not super oily. Now, I did get a little bit oily through my cheek area, which is pretty normal for me. It doesn't look quite as good as like my Estee Lauder foundation. However, I didn't use my Bye Bye Pores powder, which I do think helps keep this part a little bit more matte. So I think the next time I try this foundation, I am going to go ahead and use that powder just like I normally would do on a daily basis, and see if that makes any difference at all. But overall, for the price point on this foundation, I really do like it. So looking up close, I mean, my, contour and blush and highlight is still visible, but you can see the little bit of shine here. My lighting isn't great at night, so you'll have to bear with me there. And my forehead, you can see, is a bit shiny through here. However, doing like blotting powders or something like that would probably help out quite a bit. And even see if I powder right over, if it helps it look any better. So I'm just going to take a little bit of my Rimmel powder and just So that did help some. So you could, it definitely, and it doesn't make it look super cakey or anything. So you could definitely, you know, just powder over. But like I said, even doing like blotting powders or something like that would probably be just fine. So anyway, I'm going to give this foundation a shot. I'm going to use it like I would, like I said, with my rest of my powders like I normally would, and see if that makes a difference. But overall, for the price point, I really think you can't go wrong with that foundation if you can find your shade. I think it's definitely worth it. So thumbs up. Anyway, I appreciate you guys watching this video. If you haven't already, please subscribe to my channel, and I really appreciate you hitting that like button, and I'll see you guys on my next video. Goodbye, guys.